Welcome to the SubHub podcast. I'm Dani Moreno.
And I'm MK Sullivan. And today we will be doing a little bit of recap, a little bit of preview. Last weekend was the WMRA finals in Chiavenna, Italy. I was going to say Chiavenna, but it's pronounced Chiavenna. And this upcoming weekend, we have the Golden Trail World Series finale in Switzerland.
Yeah, it is that time of the year where all the folks that have committed to a series or multiple series try to pull out those last results in those final races. Having been there a couple of times myself, it's always an interesting balance because you have the height of the summer mountain racing season where a lot of our notable races for this distance occur, starting with late May in Zagama, bang out Mont Blanc years now, and then you start to sprinkle in now OCC or ETC for some folks. And then the WMRA is going on the whole time. So for a lot of these athletes, I mean, they've been racing now with Golden Trail since April, really freaking hard. And so there's the physical aspect to balance, but there's also like the mental emotional balance. Yeah, it's a tough thing to try and come into these races as fresh as possible. We will talk about, eventually when we get into Golden Trail, there are some players that have that as an advantage, which is going to make things exciting. But before we dive into the Valsir Mountain Running Cup final in Italy, MK, how is that New York City Marathon training going? And did you get inspired by Chicago? Did it make it feel like it's coming up really fast? Where's that head at?
I literally forgot that Chicago was happening this weekend because I haven't been on Instagram much recently, and so I just feel like I've forgotten a lot of things that are going on. But I opened my phone on Sunday and saw that the world record had gone down, and I was like, "Oh my God, Chicago happened this weekend!" And it's crazy because other than the trials, Chicago was like the last marathon that I ran prior to that, and then I've taken this huge hiatus from anything other than half marathons basically on the road. So it's exciting. The world major marathons are, I mean, I've only ever run Chicago, but it's just cool to like be a part of those experiences and those big events. I am curious to see like how New York goes, just because when I ran Chicago, I started at the same time as everybody else because their start it doesn't differentiate like New York does. New York has a 9 a.m. start for the elite field. I think it's both men and women. And then I'm in this sub-elite field that starts at 9:10, and then I think the rest of the population starts at 9:20. And I was telling Tommy, I was like, I actually think I'd rather just be in the 9:20 start because now I feel like I'm just going to be in this weird like in between like I don't know, maybe running a different race kind of situation, and was kind of hoping to just like hang on to some dudes and see what happens.
Yeah, I would
But
have to imagine there'll be a good amount of people. Like not a ton, but I
yeah,
would imagine there'd be 30 to 50 runners in
yeah, I
that
don't know.
sub-elite because there's so many people in that range of time now, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. So that'll be interesting to see like if I'm surrounded by a good amount of people or if it ends up being the thing I hate the most, which is running a marathon by yourself. Um,
Yeah.
but no, training's going well. I did like probably my first and maybe last long run, like big long run of the block. Because I did 18 miles a couple Mondays ago, but yesterday I did 22 miles, which is usually the most Rick ever has me run before a marathon. So I think that that's my last big long run, but who knows? That guy always surprises me. So it went really well. Did it on a hilly course here in Reno, which I think is good because I like to just run flat and fast so then I feel fast, but I'm glad that I now know how much those bridges are going to hurt when I get out there. So, but yeah, training's going well. I'm healthy and got, I guess once this episode comes out, like 3.5 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks. That's it.
So, I mean, we're recording on Tuesday and probably going to release it in the next 24 hours. So that's 2.5 weeks from now.
2.5 weeks.
Um,
uh,
yeah, you absolutely crushed that long run. I looked at it afterwards after you told me about it, and you did such a good job of like kind of simulating the course too, with kind of an earlier climb and then a later climb. I at times feel like pretty seasoned as an overall run fan. And then I talk to MK and feel like I know nothing at times. And admittedly, I've actually never looked at the New York Marathon course. I mean, I never went through like a road marathon phase. Boston was just a gracious gift given to me a couple years ago. Wait, dude, I forget. Last year.
that was last year.
But I've never actually looked at these courses. I just know that Chicago's fast, Boston's really hard, New York is somewhere in between. But New York has like some solid hills. It is not a
There's like
super
a
fast
thousand,
course.
yeah, there's like 1,000 feet a game.
Yeah,
It's
I
crazy.
mean, it seems like a cool race. I think if I were to do a marathon, I might actually seek that out because CAM is always intriguing because it's such a fast course. It's here in California, but you do have that like extra time where, at least for me, emotionally, I start to get a little disengaged from running. But yeah, maybe I'm stoked for you to do this. I think it's going to be fun to see how it turns out with like going off of the two trail races because we have talked about this, like athletes going from road to trail and then trail back to road. But you picked two really good, suitable trail races for this. Like they were hella fast.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's gonna be
yeah.
sick.
It'll be fun. I haven't been to New York since I was 10, so gonna go back to the Big Apple, see at least one Broadway show, and
Ooh, what are you gonna
try to run
see?
fast. Right now, Wicked. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. Have you seen that before?
No, I haven't. I was hoping to do Book of Mormon and Wicked, but I think we're only gonna have time for one. So
Oh, dang. It depends on what mood you're in. Book of Mormon, I was crying laughing for so long. And then Wicked is just, all of the beauty and glamour that comes with a incredibly well done Broadway show. I think that'd be cool if you like then want to see the movie because the movie's coming out around Thanksgiving. I don't know if you
yeah,
knew that. Yeah.
yeah, I did. Yep. No, it'll be fun.
So if you don't catch MK at the race, maybe you'll see her on Broadway
I'm on Broadway, man.
afterwards.
Yeah, yep. And how's your recovery going?
It's going really well. Today I had my kind of like hopefully fingers crossed last follow-up with the orthopedic surgeon doctor that I've been seeing. It's healed. So cool.
Yay!
Yay! Dun, 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 dun.
So
Um,
cool.
it's it's so cool. It's kind of weird. I think it'll hit me a little bit later that like I've kind of been given the official green light to start pushing it and start running. It just doesn't feel it feels real. I don't know. I guess I've just been so comfortable in this kind of phase of 2 months of just taking a step back and not feeling like super angsty and stuff. But I don't know. I don't know if that was the right
I mean, I
response.
did give you like literally 30 minutes to think about this, so you like just
Yeah,
found
that's
out.
true. Yeah, exactly. But I am excited that I can not walk, that I can try to walk. No, sorry. Oh, sorry, that was that word. That I can try to run without a boot on. And he said like really get off the boot and stuff. I don't know why I'm over explaining this. I'm healed. I can move forward. I can start to move forward, start to strengthen my foot and hopefully, maybe fit something in early next year, if that makes sense. But yeah, I've been incredibly grateful for this time as a whole. I went fishing 5 times over the span of 7 days last week, and holy moly, I was on a roll. It's kind of funny. I haven't really had an issue with my like identity being tied to a runner, but I feel like I've pseudo taken on Mike's personality in a way, because I'm like out fishing. I'm like obsessed with fantasy football right now because I'm doing it with my family. And so I've been watching so much football, and that's what I look forward to each week. And I'm just learning all these players' name, and each week I'm like, oh, I gotta get rid of this guy. He sucks. And like it's just been like this new obsession. And even yesterday I was on the elliptical watching Monday Night Football. And then I watch so much baseball now. So yeah, it's been a thrill. I guess we should talk about trail running. Sorry. That's
Nah,
enough about
you're a
me.
big sports gal now.
Big sports gal. But anyways, that's an update on MK and I. First things first, this weekend was the kickoff to the championship season. MK, tell the folks what happened.
We had the Valsir World Mountain Running Cup. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Such a
Yeah.
mouthful. This last weekend, which yeah, is technically I guess it's maybe the second championship of the season if you include UTMB week. And this was an interesting weekend because it did see some athletes who will also be doubling back for the Golden Trail World Series final, which is always interesting. There were two races, which I was really interested by because last year weren't there three or four races?
Yeah, there's also a longer distance race.
Yeah, but it ended up they had to change a lot of the races because there was some weird weather or a fire. I can't remember, but a lot of the races ended up being like almost road races. But this year they just had two events. They had the vertical kilometer on Saturday and the longer distance trail race on Sunday. The VK was legit. It was 2.1 miles with 3,200 feet a game. I'm not sure I would be running any of that, to be honest.
Yeah, it was super interesting because the only couple clips I saw were of Rachel and Lauren running uphill and kind of like the highlights video. And the parts they're showing people are running. So the part that was super steep didn't get a lot of camera on it, but that is insane vert. I feel
Yeah,
like if I saw that on paper, I would just say no, thank you.
and be like,
I'm
wow,
not
so cool.
interested. So cool. Thank you for this opportunity. No, thank you. Like Helen with her golden Helen Mino Faulkner, because my sister told me we need to start saying people's full names because we just
Okay.
talk about them. Like Helen Mino Faulkner, badass American trail runner, received a golden ticket, said no, thank you.
No, thank you. I don't want that. Um,
Um,
but yeah, they all ran one at a time, which I thought was really interesting. So it was like every 15 seconds or something like that. With the women who were ranked the highest starting last. So a little bit of a chase race for the women who are at the top of the field instead of, somebody running away with it from the beginning. Um, but also interesting because you don't know where you are until you finish, really,
unless you get passed, which
unless you get
every time
passed.
I've done one of those ones, I get passed by so many people. So
And you're
I
like,
know I'm
damn.
not having a good day. I did one in Scotland. I got passed by like 20 people. But yeah, it is an interesting way of the psyche, and especially with a trail race where, majority of the time you can't really see the person in front of you. Whereas if you were to start on a track with a staggered start, like it's a lot clearer. I mean, 400-meter hurdles, you could see the people in front of you. Wait, that's different.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well,
yeah,
kind of.
it looked like honestly a beautiful race, and shout out to one of our listeners and followers on Instagram, Lorenzo. You're the man. He did provide us with some context for Kivana Lagunk. Did I say that right?
I think so.
Giovanna Lagunk. It's Italian, but on this course specifically, there was the world VK record without poles set by Bernard de Mathis. He's an Italian runner in 30:27 in 2014. And Andrea Mayer, who is still a phenomenal VK runner, just won worlds last year. The woman is insane. She also set the world record until last year with the time of 35:54. So the runners did have something to chase. Ultimately, it was on the men's side, Andrea Ilia of Italy, who ran 31:08. So a little bit off of that world record. but it was really close. Again, considering the staggered start, Henry Amond of Italy was second in 31:15, and then Patrick Kipniego, Kenyan 31:50. So the first two are a lot closer, and then it seems like it started to spread out a little bit.
Yeah, and then on the women's side, we have second place finisher from Sears and All, Scout Adkin, from the UK. She won in 37:57, pretty handily actually, as Valeris is second in 38:34, and Paola Stampanoni from Switzerland in third at 39:13. So she won by like 40 seconds.
Yeah, Scout is a rocket. Like been a participant in the Mountain Running World Cup for a handful of years now. I would need to see exactly how much. But seeing her compete in Sears and do an incredible job, uh, I would the fan in me wants her to keep crushing VK so we could see her hopefully at Worlds again next year.
River's getting in trouble in the background.
Sorry, guys. um, but I also would like to. It'd be cool to see her. Um,
I
wow,
can't hear
sorry,
him.
he's barking. I can cut. Oh, really? Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
We could cut this part out. So, I would love to see Scout keep pursuing the VK and, potentially become the next Andrea Mayer, potentially, of this era, just with utter dominance. But it would also be cool to see her continue going to races like Sears now. Would love to see her at like Broken Arrow, selfishly, and get
It is
after it on some of
WMRA.
it is WMRA. These like runnable 1.5 to 2 hour races, which I know she's done, but it just seems like this year she's gone even like a step up, right?
Second place at Sears and All is insane. Yeah, no, definitely a different level. And
Yeah.
then for both of these races, we did have a couple Americans in the field. On the women's side, Rachel Tomasic and Lauren Gregory finished back to back in 11th and 12th. Christian Allen was the highest finishing American of the day in ninth place, 33:09, and Joe Gray finished 19th.
Yeah. So great showings by them. Is Christian going to the Golden Trail World Series final?
I would think so.
Yeah, I would think so. We can fact check that, i.e., DM him in Instagram. um,
I'd
so
be
yeah,
surprised if he wasn't there.
I would too. Yeah. So like we said, there was the VK and then there was also the long mountain. What was missing for this final was that middle distance, which is kind of confusing, but usually it's closer to like 10 to 13K in our realm of mountain running. So this 23K was actually considered long mountain, which for those folks out there who have listened to our episodes regarding the World Mountain Running Championships, is also kind of confusing because usually long mountain refers to like
Like 80K.
35K. Oh, that's the long. What is the one
Yeah,
that you ran?
I ran
Short?
short trail, which was still 47K.
uh, this nomenclature. Uh, we have recently caught wind that we potentially might change the name of this podcast for this reason too. This nomenclature is just all over the place. So if you're struggling, just know we are struggling too as the sub hub. Regardless, the long mountain race was 14.5 miles with 2,500 feet of gain. Joyce Nigiri of Kenya ended up winning in 1:47:45. Valeris Kasang Gerudo, also of Kenya, 1:48:51. So pretty close up front. And honestly, Scout right there, only 7 seconds behind Valeris, ended up getting third. If you look at the videos, Scout and Valeris were changing places all day, and then they kind of gradually caught up to Joyce. And this course looked so fast. Like there was just stretches where it's a road race. They're
It was
literally
a lot.
crossing bridges. And then they would hit these stairs that were really slippery. And there's a couple people that like really almost take bad falls, but luckily catch themselves. But then there's other areas where folks are slipping on grass because the mud and the grass are all wet. So yeah, it was a wet day, but this course looked absolutely stunning. And Joyce looked, I'm gonna say it, like, she looked exceptional on those very slippery parts, which might allude to potentially how she's gonna finish or how she's gonna do at Golden Trail World Series final, which we'll talk about. And then on the men's side, Patrick Imnego comes back for the win, 134.03. A name I haven't noticed. Have you noticed this guy, Paul Machoka of Kenya?
No. Actually, I think I've seen him a couple of times just because I've been updating those rankings in the newsletter. But
Okay.
he's
He's
relatively
also a
new on
Kenyan
the
athlete.
yeah, on the Run Together team, I believe. So,
Okay. And he was
yeah.
134.22, so really close to Patrick. And then third place was Theodore Klein of France, 134.53. And again, it's kind of interesting, but on the men's side, both the VK and the Long Mountain, Kenya had one, two, three guys, one, two, three, four guys. So three guys in the top 10 of the VK, four guys in the Long Mountain. Whereas on the women's side, the Long Mountain, there was 3 women from the UK, which I thought was really, really fascinating.
Yeah. No, that is interesting. And then we didn't have any US women in the trail race. And our highest finishing American on the men's side was Liam Mayrow in 12th place at 137.51.
Nice. And this was also a team, like they raced in the Team USA kit, and they decided these folks based on the VK championship and what was the other one?
Cirque Series.
And Cirque Series. Yes.
I
So
think
that
that one got confusing
Oh, no, this
because,
this was the VK championship. It did get confusing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, yeah, I think that it was only for the VK, right? Like we decided to send a team for the VK, and then the trail team was just people who had qualified through WMRA points, which is why I don't think we saw any women on the at that final. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was just saying that's interesting, like, because I noticed they were wearing the Team USA kits and why there wasn't anyone in the long trail. Um, but yeah, with the men's race, our top something I wanted to note was our top US finisher was Liam Miro in 12th place in 137.51. So he was there and he wasn't wearing the Team USA kit. He just decided that he wanted to go and race this.
Yeah, I think he's run a couple of WMR races already this year, so he probably had the points to do it. I don't know how that, I can't remember how that works. I think Jono told us that anyone is welcome. But pretty cool to see. He did it last year as well, so.
That is
And
cool.
then
Yeah.
this upcoming weekend. Well, I guess not really even the weekend. It starts on Thursday. We've
Or
got,
wait, the final ranking for
oh
WMRA
yeah,
or
we can go
Valsir.
through that first.
So, with the Valsir World Mountain Running Cup, I think I got that right. Yes. Um, like we said, this was a series that was occurring all year, focused really on the short stuff. I mean, it's not short, it's still a long time. But this final allowed the athletes who had been participating in the series to scoop up some final points. And so when all was said and done, Scout Adkin ended up winning the entire series with 339 points. Congrats to Scout. She's someone that we've talked about having on the podcast, and I feel like we should reach out to her or try
Yeah.
again. So if anyone has personal relations to Scout, just let her know we want to talk to her. Uh, big fans. And second place was Joyce Nagiru with 338 points. She lost by 1 point the entire Mountain Running Cup, which if they tied, I'm sure it's in the rules. I'm curious what would have happened. Polaris Kasang, who really focused on this series more than Golden Trail World Series this year, was third in 313 points. Fourth, Susanna Sapunki from Finland.
Finland. Yeah.
And fifth place was Gloria Chibet from Team Run Together with 155 points. The lone American was Allie McLaughlin in 10th place. We don't really know how she got her points because they haven't updated the document yet with all of the points so we could see. I'm gonna guess it's from her Broken Arrow triple.
Yeah, because she would have
Because
competed in both the VK and the 23.
yeah, exactly.
And she
So
was
I'm
Top 10 in both of them, I'm pretty sure.
She was fourth in the 23K and she was third in the VK behind Anna Gibson and
Oh, yeah.
Joyce.
Yeah.
So yeah, that might be the case. And then on the men's side, Patrick Kipnego ended up getting first place with 330 points. Josafat Kiprotich, who we did a preview or included him in the preview for Sears, now he was second in 251. Philemon Mbogo, but he didn't race, was third.
He did race. He finished 10th.
Oh, I see now. Okay.
Yeah.
Or ninth. Philemon was third in 246 points. Another Kenyan, Paul Machoka, who we just mentioned, was fourth in 224. He is not on Team Run Together. He is on Team Saluzzo. And
Which is
then,
who that's who Joyce runs for.
oh, Joyce. Oh, she must have just picked up that because she's always
Yeah.
had her own on kit. Okay. We'll have to do more digging on Team Saluzzo. This is my first time actually knowing what their team was called. And then fifth was another Kenyan, Michael Solelo Saoli, also Team Run Together. So the Kenyans actually go 1 through 6. And again, our lone American, Mika Budon Rouzeau, 10th place. And I know he did, I think it was Noli and then Broken Arrow VK. So that was probably enough to get him his
And
10th place
23.
finish there. And the 23K. Yeah, that's
That
right.
was where he hurt his knee.
So Kenyan men absolutely dominating the Valsir World Mountain Running Cup.
Yeah. Team Run Together really bringing out like massive teams to these events.
Yes, exactly.
But congrats to
Okay,
all
so
those
that's
people.
that. Congrats to them. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of this next upcoming weekend, the Golden Trail World Series final, here is a message about one of our partnerships. Hey guys, Dani here. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Never Second. They quickly have gained popularity in the endurance world for their gels and powders, which feature a modular system that makes it super easy to customize your fuel intake, whether you need 30, 60, or 90 grams of carbs per hour. Personally, I love their products because they're easy to digest, they help me stay fueled during my cross training and running sessions, and the mix and match flavors keep things fun and fresh. If you want to try Never Second, head over to neversecond.com. That's NEVER2.com and use SubHub25 for 25% off your order.
All
All
right.
right.
Let's talk Golden Trail.
Let's talk Golden Trail. I'm just going to copy what you say.
Good.
Golden Trail World Series final. So before we get into this, just a quick recap. This year, it was supposed to be the first year of 8 races. That did not happen because one of the races ended up getting canceled. That was the race in Poland, the Tatra Sky Race. But we started in Asia in April with Kobe Trail, which was in Kobe, Japan, followed by Four Sisters in China. Kobe was very technical, very steep, multiple climbs. Four Sisters China, very high altitude, arid terrain. Then we followed that up with Zagama in May, an absolute classic. Followed that with Mont Blanc Marathon, another classic. And then it was the combo of Sierre Zinal and Tatra Sky Race, like I just said, which got canceled. And then we finished it out with MK here, showing back on the Golden Trail World Series. But we had both the Headlands 27K and Mammoth Trail Fest, both of which happened here in California, one at sea level, one back at high altitude. So when all was said and done, we had 7 events, which athletes were able to accumulate points. However, because there wasn't 8 races, they changed it so the top 3 races that an athlete's top 3 performances were considered for the points instead of 4, and the top 30 were invited or are invited to this final, which is happening this weekend.
Yes, and the final is taking place October 17th through 20th, so Thursday through Sunday this week in Ascano, Locarno, region. I was going to say the city of Ascano Locarno, but it's not. It's a region in Switzerland. And if you guys listen to our podcast with Francesco or Roberto earlier this year, they both live fairly close. I actually think that Roberto like lives in this region. So they were both pretty stoked to be able to train like in the area and kind of check it out. We'll talk about Francesco's most recent reaction to it here in a second, though. But yeah, so there will apparently be 160 professional athletes at this event. But if you are not somebody who qualified for the event, if you're somebody local, if you're somebody who's just a fan of the Golden Trail, you were able to sign up for this race and run it as well. So that's really cool. Just like last year, we'll be alternating days for men and women. So on Thursday, you have the women's prologue, Friday, men's prologue, Saturday, women's race, Sunday, men's race, um, which is pretty much the same as last year. And the distances are also very similar to last year, where you have a prologue of about 7K, which of course is in the flower format, about 400 meters of elevation. And then the big race is 23.5K, about 14.6 miles, with 44 to 4,700 feet of gain in a flower style, doing 4 or 5-ish loops. It's kind of odd looking on a map, but good for spectating, I guess.
Yeah, it's it's super interesting too because it looks as though one of the loops that they do in the prologue is also in the final, so they'll have some sort of familiarity with those trails. But as of right now, the forecast for, again, because it takes over the place over 4 days, thank you to Golden Trail. That is one of the great things about it is equal coverage for men and women. But the forecast is pure rain this entire week, and it doesn't look too cold, but I'm very curious when you have cold weather near a lake and there's nothing really blocking wind, it can tend to feel 10 degrees cooler in Fahrenheit standards. So even though it's saying 59, I wouldn't be surprised if it feels a lot more frigid than that, just with the moisture in the air and the wind not being blocked. Something we did also notice in regards to conditions is we saw some videos of some athletes previewing this course about a month ago, and it looked like there were some areas that ice accumulated. So that is a potential possibility. Or if it rains so much, it might melt away any ice that's there. But it just makes me think that it's going to be slippery, especially watching the videos of the Valsir Mountain World Cup final that just happened this past weekend. Everything just looks kind of sketchy, fun, depends what synonym or adjective you want to use. So that's definitely something to consider when picking your folks for the free trail fantasy. So
Yes.
this final, before we dive into the athletes, because the choice of the flower format, from my understanding and gathering information, is it is in hopes that as the sport gets bigger, it's an easier way to view athletes as a spectator. Because in order for a sport to grow, you need money. And most of the time, the way you get money is by gaining more fans and viewers on the sport, right? And the thing about trail running is if you're not super able-bodied, it's really hard to watch these races. Whereas if you think of an American style cross country race or just any cross country race, most of the time participants can stand in the middle and run or walk, stand and see the athletes at multiple points throughout the race. This flower format is to do that. I think it's also easier for media to capture the race instead of, doing one big old loop where, instead of having 4 people, then suddenly you need 10 people to cover a race. And then also it shortens the scope of which you need reception and stuff like Wi-Fi. The bigger a race is, the harder it is to cover those hard to get to places. Are there any things that I'm missing? I'm sure there's more stuff that I'm missing, but I know those are some of like the main reasons.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think part of it too is I've heard, and I don't know, chicken or egg, which one came first, but they're talking about the flower format kind of being more useful if trail running is to ever look to be in the Olympics. It's kind of what
Yeah.
happened with mountain biking as well. Instead of mountain biking kind of happening over the course of like an entire ski resort, now they just do loops and like lots of them. So it is easier for people who are sitting at home to watch an event if it if a drone can basically just stay within like a certain area the whole time. It's also, yeah, just good for in person because they come back to the same spot several times. I like the cross country analogy because, yeah, I'm just like imagining, my parents like moving back and forth and back and forth and back and forth all of college to like watch these loops that we used to do. But it does seem that some athletes have chosen not to participate in Golden Trail this year, largely due to the flower format and the idea that trail running needs to be changed for the purpose of making it more popular or more easy to watch. One of those voices being Francesco Pupi. If you haven't seen his Instagram posts, we'll put it in the show notes. But basically, what he's talking about is that he decided not to do the Golden Trail World Series final after running the course a couple weeks ago. Um, his Strava was super funny because he said something like, it was like first half, absolutely nonsense. Second half, maybe okay, I think was the title of it. Um, and I mean, I can understand it. I'm not a big loops person, but maybe we're just old, like I do think that this will bring in a new era of like trail runners, like these younger trail runners with the shorter distances. It gives them a lot of like content to use for their brands and stuff, which is important, especially as this sport becomes more saturated. But it was really interesting to see like Killian Jornet throwing fire flame emojis on Francesco's post and Caitlin Fielder saying, I can't agree more. I won't be there because of the direction it's headed. Same with Karina Carsolio. So kind of like a lot of the original um like players in the Golden Trail World Series are kind of like stepping away now because it seems like, and I mean, this was, I think, in my mind, always the purpose of the Golden Trail. It's like heading more towards like a media thing than it is to like, I don't know, like make really fun races. Maybe that's not the right way to say it, but Golden Trail in my head was always like kind of a media conglomerate in a way.
Yeah. And something I would say is that I don't know if it's necessarily the flower format itself. I think it's that when you are trying to create a flower format in the mountains, it uh inevitably creates courses that don't make as much sense, right?
Yeah,
Like it's harder to get that more natural flow because, someone creates a single trail for a reason. It's like more times than not, it makes sense, right? And so I think when you get a flower format, you just start piecemealing things together that maybe don't feel as intuitive as a trail runner that go together, similar to the man-made or human-made trail at Worlds last year. That was the part that, from what I've heard, felt the most sketchy out of the whole
yeah,
thing because it intuitively just didn't make sense. It's not, you know, 100 years of people finding a path or making a path on a trail that already exists, but like with foot placement and stuff, and naturally you find these grooves that happen and weather reinforces that, etc. Whereas with the flower format, it's like, well, we need to get back in 3K. Let's take this random turn. And so, yeah, Francesco's post of first half nonsense, second half maybe okay. It's such a funny title. It's like I'm guessing that the first half just it just doesn't make sense intuitively to the athletes as they're running through. Um,
yeah.
but I will say, as a participant in a couple world finals for Golden Trail, that's always been the case with the finals because they kind of make more times than not, they've utilized races that are either newer, haven't existed for a long time, or are literally net new. I don't know how long this race has existed, but the one in 2021, I don't think existed before that. And so they just made the trail up. And it was one of those instances where as we raced, like the GPX got changed a couple of, weeks beforehand. But that was a crazy course. Like Sion literally took a wrong turn and jumped off a wall at one point and injured himself for like the rest of the race, like had to walk it in with bloody knees and everything. And I remember scoping that course and being like, this, I'm literally running through someone's backyard right now. Like this doesn't make any sense. So I think there is a history of that with Golden Trail, but as more eyes get on it, and people can start to, I don't want to say like point fingers, but say like, hey, this seems like the reason why you're heading in this direction. I don't agree with it. People are going to be more vocal about it, especially when you have other series that people can choose to go to now.
Yeah, definitely. It's it'll be interesting, and especially based on like rumors that we've started to hear just like about what next year looks like in general. Like I think that Golden Trail is going to look a lot different than it did, in definitely in 2020, but even when I started in 2022.
Yeah, it's definitely changed. It's changed so much since it first started.
Yeah.
In my opinion, when it first started, it was like a Solomon showcase.
Oh
I
yeah.
really thought it was like a showcase for their athletes. It was so confusing to me. And then you had this introduction of the stage races that was going to be every other year, and they already changed their mind on that because no one liked that. Um, I will say, kind of as um an optimistic thread about this situation. One, Francesco is entitled to his opinion, and it's cool that we're in a sport where athletes can even like say something like that. And I'm sure Golden Trail would be like, yeah, you want to race next year? Come back. It's
Yeah.
not like this weird, oh, we're shunning you. You're not allowed to come race with us anymore. So that's really cool. Um, Another thing, I guess, like on the same thread of that, is that the sport is open to change based on athletes' opinions because it is such like it's held in a fragile state, our environment. And that is the essence of the sport of trail running is the exploration of trail. So I can see it doesn't surprise me that folks like Killian and Karina, who are big proponents of that, are the ones like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like, let's go back to what it used to be. Um, and people listen to those opinions. And so I don't know where I'm going with this, but ultimately, like I have empathy for Golden Trail too. Like they're trying to change the sport
Oh
and they're
yeah.
trying to help athletes be professionals at something that we have chosen and we love and is so cool to do. Um, and they're doing it at the expense of being constantly ridiculed, like no matter what they do, no matter which series you are, there's something that some people are always going to pick on. And so to like be open to change, even though I would say there's such a huge vehicle for evolution in our sport, I think is ultimately good and why people like Poopy feel safe sharing their opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Amen.
And
Let's move
Poopy's, yeah, let's move
on.
on. And say Poopy's been a part of
Okay.
this for so long that he can, I'm sure he probably said the same thing to Greg that he did online.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No.
Uh,
Totally. I'm really
um,
happy he put that post out though, because it does show that, athletes do care and not all of us want to feel like we're dying on trails.
oh gosh.
Um,
Well,
okay.
yeah, so flower format, the prologue, like Danny mentioned earlier, does see some of the first couple loops. The second or the long race, the 23K, you come back to the center of the flower 6 different times. So, for fans
Six.
that are there watching it, very cool.
Six.
You get to see the athletes 6 different times. And the center is not at the start or the finish. The start finish is kind of like off to the side, actually, a bit. So,
I feel
but
like
that'll be
last year was
cool.
4 times, right?
Yeah,
Last year was
last year
four
was four
times.
times. Yeah. But
That's
it does
another
seem
example.
like,
Like, I don't think Noli existed.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It looks like these early loops are very short, like maybe, like 5K. And
Yeah.
then you've got like one big loop later on in the course. But yeah, the first loops are short enough that the athletes I'm imagining are probably going to be there like every 15 to 20 minutes. Which
I
is
just
kind of
measured it. The
exciting, kind
first
of
loop is
chaotic.
the first loop is a mile.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. So like by the
Interesting.
third time that these people are coming through, like oh wait, just kidding. The men and women are starting on different days. I was like, are they gonna be overlapping? That's gonna be crazy.
The second loop is
Um,
3K. It's like 2 miles.
yes. Okay. And then what's the third loop?
Um, third loop is, let's see. Oh my gosh. Four.
So
The
fast
third
we
loop
can't
is two
tell.
and a half miles.
Whoa.
2.5 miles. So it goes 1 mile, 2 mile, 2.5 miles,
A big
7 miles. So I don't think
yeah.
they'll overlap. They'll still be
No.
together for that big loop, a lot of them.
Yep. No, that'll be good. But yeah, so that race happens Saturday, Sunday. I'm interested to see how the prologue goes this year because it does seem to be a little bit hillier maybe than last year's prologue because last year's prologue they ran on the beach for quite a bit.
Yeah, at least at the end of it. And this year, I think it's pretty similar. It's basically an up and then a down, but they don't have that flat at the end. They have like a final little up. Um, the down looks to be a little bit steep as well, whereas I feel like last year might have been a little bit more gentle on the downhill. But, depending on your points, you can get a max of 100 on the prologue, 300 on the final. So if someone is just having the week of their life, there's 400 points up for grabs, as we saw with Madalena or Monica Floria. Last year, she sweeped 400 points and moved all the way up into third place
Third,
overall.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, technically I guess second since like Judith and Sophia tied and then they just did a tiebreaker.
Oh, yeah. Second,
Yeah.
third. But absolutely wild. Another thing to point out is aside from the folks which we are going to highlight that have been participating in the Golden Trail World Series, there has also been the Golden Trail National Series. So, for example, in North America, Broken Arrow and Headlands were part of both of them. And then you had other races like in Pacific Northwest, etc., that allowed you to try and qualify this way. And they will have their own ranking at the end of it, but they'll be invited to the final next year as well.
Oh, that's cool.
And they also have
You
a
just get
team
like an
ranking.
automatic
Yeah, it
or
says the top two men and top two women from each national series have been invited to this final and will be battling it out, yeah, for their own ranking. There'll also be an individual ranking to determine the best U23s of the season. And then they'll be added together for a team ranking. So many rankings.
so I
But
wonder
cool
if the
opportunity
team
for
ranking is based on like there's a French team, a Canadian US team, an Italian team. Is that what it means?
exactly. Yeah, an
Okay.
American team. Yeah.
Um, on the for the American Canada contingent, we are sending Megan Lacey and Sarah Carter. Um, on the women's side, Cade Michael and Liam Mayrow on the men's side, and then our U23 athletes are Andy Cornish and Ali Papillon. Papillon. Sorry, I'm probably saying that wrong, Ollie.
That's awesome. So yeah,
Yeah,
a good luck to those U23 athletes. That's gonna be super fun to watch. I do like that they're kind of gearing it towards younger athletes, similar to sky running, doing those shorter races.
yeah.
All right. So those are the details of the race. Again, hopefully you're listening to this before you select your free trail fantasy picks. But before we dive into the rankings, the favorites, our picks, here's another message about one of our partnerships.
Hey everyone, it's MK. As an athlete who travels to race and train, it's very important for me to keep my immune system strong. After chatting with Dani last year, I decided to try Beekeeper's Naturals. I've been recently using their immune boosting products, and they've become a huge part of keeping my system strong during tough training blocks. Beekeepers uses propolis, which is packed with antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. I like to use the throat spray in the lead up to a race and the lozenges for when I feel an illness coming on, but they also have syrups and other options for children as well. If you're looking for a natural way to support your immune system, I highly recommend giving Beekeepers Naturals a try. Use code SUBHUB20 for 20% off your orders at beekeepersnaturals.com. Back to the episode.
We start with the men's side or the women's side today, Dani?
Let's go with the women. I'm obviously biased, but I am very excited about some late additions to this side of the race. But first, as far as the rankings go, first place currently is Joyce Nagiru with a perfect 600 points. Also coming off a second place overall finish at the Valsir Mountain Running Cup. Second place, Madalena Floria. If you haven't already listened to our episode, MK and I were laughing quite a bit. She is so funny, super full of energy. She's currently second with 564 points, representing Solomon. Third place is Mathis with 532, but she will not be towing the line. So that is a heavy favorite not towing the line. So unfortunately, she's probably going to drop out of the top 10 after this race. Fourth place, the young Spanish sensation Malin Osa with 500 points, knocking everyone off their socks, out of their socks with a second place at Sagama. Fifth, the queen, one of the goats of the shorter distance mountain running distances, Judith Weider, Hoka Red Bull athlete, currently fifth, like I said. Sixth place, we have another Swiss athlete, Therese Leboeuf, with 478 points. I'm pretty sure she's showing up to this.
I think
Seventh
so.
place, Miao Yao, OCC dominant women's champion this year. Little tired in the American races, but she's seventh place, 476 points. Also Solomon. Eighth place, American Trail Princess. I don't know why I came up with that. But Anna Gibson, running for Brooks, multi-sport, multi-running athlete, was at the U.S. Olympic trials this year in the 1500 final. Eighth place with 470 points. The lone American in the top 10 right now, by the way.
Yeah.
Ninth place, Sylvia Nordic Star. Huge win at Sagama this year, 457 points. Norwegian represents Hoka. And 10th place, Marta Martinez Abilan with 444 points, represents La Sportiva and is a Spanish athlete. And then just a couple other women to note right now. 11th place, we have Oria Liassi, who I would need to check. Let's see really quick.
Are you looking for the races she ran?
Yeah, okay, so she did do Marathon Mont Blanc and Sierras and all. She absolutely crushed it in America. I wasn't sure if she'd participated in those other ones. She's someone that we want to keep our eye on. 12th and 13th place as well, both Spanish athletes, Rosalara Feliu, Naraya Erogan. Also, people we could see moving up. Caitlin Fielder not participating. Another American, Rachel Tomajic, 16th. This year, she just keeps getting better and better. We have our eyes on her. Ali Ostrander really put it out there to make this final on her YouTube. You can follow along her journey. She's 21st. And then we got who I think folks that are going to just absolutely blast up these rankings. Freaking Sarah Alonso is showing up to the final, and she is 23rd right now. And then you have Lauren Gregory, who absolutely smashed the American races in 24th, and Sophia Lockley in 27th. So those are kind of like my top three picks that are just going to they're going to be in the top 10 somehow. And then, those are all the folks that I'm kind of keeping my eyes on the women's side. Go for it,
Yeah.
MK.
Super crazy that Sophia Lockley is showing up to this final. She's had a bit of a rough year. Said she came off of Nordic season maybe a little bit too hot and ended up with some knee issues. But she showed up to both Japan and Four Sisters and was unable to compete. Said that, she needed to take a little bit of a break, came back, ran at Mont Blanc Marathon and Sierras and all, but I don't think she had the performances that she was hoping for. and said that she was calling her season. So to see her lining up here at the final is surprising, but also super exciting. Same with Sarah Alonso. She obviously had big goals at Zagama this year. Ran at both Kobe Trail and Four Sisters, but then had to drop out of the Zagama due to some really bad pneumonia. I think kind of called her Golden Trail Series season over, but after a very successful day at OCC this year, decided why not keep racing. And then Lauren Gregory, finally healthy, was planning on running Tatra. That obviously didn't happen. Headlands and Mammoth, she knocked out of the park. So very excited to see another American at the final. So on the women's side, that means we've got Anna Gibson. If all these people are going, which I'm pretty sure they are, Anna Gibson, Rachel Tomaszek, Ali Ostrander, Christina Mascarenas, Lauren Gregory, Sophia Lockley. Those are our Americans going to the final this year. So that's very exciting. A lot of women.
That is very exciting. Yeah, Christina also had a really good race at Mammoth as well. I remember seeing her finish there. Yeah, it's on this women's side, it's super interesting. My default is we're gonna have some really tired folks that maybe won't perform how they have been the rest of the year, especially if you layer in some other series there. With that being said, if they didn't run in the WMRA final, which truly I think is only Joyce, they have had, has it been a month since Mammoth?
It will have been 3 weeks.
Really? Oh, wow. My
Yeah.
brain went to a month. Okay.
I think
Yeah,
it's only 3
2,
weeks.
3, 4 since the race itself. Wait,
Okay.
1,
So
2,
I guess
3, 4.
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah, because they'll start
Yeah.
tomorrow. Which like is a good amount of time. It's like an awkward amount of time where you can recover. It might be a battle of like who recovered the best, right?
Yeah. But then you also have
But
athletes who are like super, super fresh, like Malinosa,
like
who
Sarah,
basically
yeah,
hasn't run since Zagama. I mean, she ran like ETC, but that's basically it. You've got Therese LeBoeuf hasn't run since years and all. Sylvia Nordscar started CCC but didn't finish and like hasn't really run since Zagama.
Tress ran OCC.
Oh, Therese ran OCC. So
Yeah,
she's not quite as fresh there, but still more fresh than the people who are doing the American races or the WMRA. Sarah Alonso hasn't run since OCC. Sophia Lockley hasn't run since Sears and All. And, you know, knowing her, she's definitely fit if she's showing up to the final.
yeah, for sure. I think the people that I am most looking out for is that I think can really shake things up are the ones that you mentioned. I think Anna Gibson has had a very balanced year,
Yeah.
especially seeing her at Mammoth Trail Fest. She PR'd by a bit there. I think she could do incredibly well on stuff like the prologue. And then I'm also just interested in like Oria, Rosa, and Naira because they're in that 11th, 12th, 13th position. And I just find that those people tend to be a little bit hungry to get into the top 10. I have a
I know
question mark.
that
Do you think Julia Font is showing up?
I don't know because I think she probably will. Actually, yes, I think I saw on her Strava that she raced a race last week, but said like, you know, last race before the final or whatever. But she was one of the people who commented on Poopy's thing. So for a second I wasn't sure. But Nayara Irigoyen has actually been racing quite a bit this year. So my guess is that she will be tired. Like she's been doing lots of sky running. She did Skyrunner Worlds 2 or 3 weekends ago, whenever that was. And she did the early Golden Trail races. She was 9th at OCC. So I could see her being tired. Or sorry, that Rosa was 9th at OCC. So both Rosa and Nayara have been racing actually quite a bit.
Oh, they're the ones I was battling with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rosa finished 9th at OCC. So I don't know. if you saw her out there.
Was she ninth?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then
Okay.
yeah, so it'll be interesting. I do agree with you that I think the American contingent of women have raced pretty smart this year, because a lot of them have only done Golden Trail. So I think that we see a lot of Americans move up. Anna Gibson, Lauren Gregory, obviously, like, has only had 2 races, which is why she is further down the ranking currently, but both of her races were really good. So I could see her making big
Yeah.
moves.
And before we get into our picks, something that obviously needs to be pointed out is as we were sifting through the Stravas, it seems like miles 10 through 13 on the longer day look really tough because you have someone, Roberto De Lorenzi, who is one of the best technical downhillers in the world right now, probably top 3 if you're to put them, maybe top 5, top 5. Like he was running 10 minutes, which makes me think it's very, very, very technical or very tough to get down. And if you add rain into there, and so that's when you start to favor athletes like Judith and Sarah Alonso and Malin Osa.
Malin.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
folks
Even
who,
Sophia has like shown that she can
yeah, run
bomb
on
down
wet
a
stuff.
technical downhill. So
That's where those
and
folks start to
Sylvia,
sign.
if she's there.
And Sylvia, anyone who crushed Zagama basically,
Yeah.
are people that we need to consider. But all right, any other things you want to cover before the top picks?
I don't think so.
All right.
Do you want to go
I don't
first or do
think
you
so
want me to go
either.
first?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. Can you give me prologue and the final?
Oh shit.
And we'll take it. Do you want to take it easy and go top 3, or do you want to go top 5?
I can only do top 3.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so prologue, I'm gonna go Joyce, Madalena, Anna Gibson,
Oh,
and
let's
then
go on a third.
for the long race, I think Joyce is unbeatable right now, so I'm going Joyce. But then this one gets a little dicey for me. I'm gonna go Sophia and then Sarah.
You went
So
Joyce,
Joyce,
Sophia,
Sophia,
Sarah.
Sarah.
Okay. Prologue. I'm gonna go Sarah. Sarah, Joyce, Madalena. And the long one, I'm gonna go Sarah, Sophia, Judith.
Well,
Yeah.
Dani thinks Sarah's coming
Really
to
struck
sweep.
that. Oh, she's going. No, that's third place. Sorry. So
Okay, going
Sarah's
up
third,
backwards.
Sophia's second. Yeah, sorry, that wasn't clear. So Sarah's
That's
gonna
okay.
get, I think Sarah's gonna be on the podium for both. Sarah, what did I say? Sarah, Joyce, Madalena, and then Sarah, Sophia, Judith. So third, second,
Okay.
first. That was really confusing. I think,
That's okay.
yeah, Madalena's gonna win the prologue. I think Judith, I feel very strongly she's gonna crush the longer race if it's wet. Like,
Yeah.
and she lives near there. Like she knows what the course is going to look like. And that's why I'm leaning towards Madalena instead of Joyce too, because Madalena has been there. Like she's been seeing
Yep.
every inch of that course. And
Yep.
I was very tempted to put Madalena in there, but I think Sarah and Sophia both being fresh and having the confidence to show up to the final, I think says a lot. It means they're ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. You just will just be like, has she recovered or not? Because she obviously was like sick and
Yeah.
not recovered in America. So it'll be interesting to see where people are at. But let's go through the men's ranking, at least for the top 10. We've got El Houzi and Ella Zoe with a perfect score of 600, just like Joyce. In second place, Patrick Kipnieno with 588 points, not that far behind. Philemon Kiriago in third with 552 points. Remy Bonnet, 520 in fourth place. Daniel Pattis, 488 points. Bart Brzezowski, 6th place, 478 points. 7th place, none other than Roberto De Lorenzi, local athlete, 476 points. Joey Hadorn, 8th place, 456 points. Elaine Santamaria Blanco, 9th place, 420 points. And in 10th, Marcin Kubica, 418 points. I wanted to look. Have we seen that other Swiss kid, Joey Hadorn, since Asia?
I
Oh, he
thought,
raced headlands.
yeah, I was gonna say it. He's pretty sure
Because
it's
he
at
did,
Headlands.
yeah, he did really well at Kobe and Four Sisters, and then didn't race again until headlands. So he's on the fresher side compared to a lot of these men. Him and Bart, I would
Yeah.
say.
I am curious though, because Joey's in orienteering, if he was doing a bunch of orienteering races, but my pick for potential surprise, I don't know if he is a surprise, was going to be Joey because he knows how to run on slippery freaking trail.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
orienteering, and he's a multi-champion of something. He's a world champion or something like that. He's very good. So I think he's gonna
And
shine here.
And orienteering is kind of convoluted, just like these flower
Flower
courses.
forms.
So he's ready for it.
Yeah, he's ready for it. I
and
think,
then-
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to highlight the American men that are in the top
Yes.
30. We've got Christian Allen in 15th currently. Garrett Corcoran made a big move into 18th after his performance at Mammoth. We've got, those are only 2 men. Oh, and Andy Wacker, 30th, USA.
Yeah,
I wonder if
there
he's
you go,
going.
Andy. Let's go. I could see him potentially doing that.
Probably because I'm sure Trail Team will be there.
Yeah, but I think it's Noah Williams. I know Cade Michael for sure is Trail Team. I don't know if Noah Williams. I feel like he is. They're both 32nd and 33rd, so I don't know if they're gonna
Well,
go.
Cade will be there for the Golden Trail National Series, and I think I heard that Noah is going, but I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Damn, NK, you're 32nd. You should just go over there.
I really should. It'll be a good tune up for New York, breaking my ankles.
Yeah.
This
Men's
race is
athletes.
Oh, sorry.
What?
I was just gonna say this race is like there's nobody that we know of that's like popping in that's unexpected, kind of like on the women's side.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't seen anything on social media, etc., that would allude to that. Fantasy would be Killian Jornet just popping in, which would be really, really cool. But I do not think that is the case. And yeah,
he gave Francesco that fist bump on the post. He's definitely not going to the
final. But gentlemen that I believe this course will really suit include El Hussein, of course, Bart Pierzewski, the Polish runner. I think he also is comfortable on this sort of terrain. I keep thinking back to what is the race that Sophia won last year? Norway. In which athletes did well there. Those were a couple athletes. Roberto De Lorenzi, Joey Hadorn, I think, and Marcin Kubica. It looks like Bart and Marcin recently raced each other and had a good battle, so maybe that was a potentially good tune-up for both of them leading into this race.
Yeah, I also think that Frederick Trenchand will be another athlete that will do probably better than he's done in some of the other Golden Trail events because he's a very good sky runner. So if it's wet, technical at all, like he's probably feeling a little bit more comfortable than a lot of these guys. But also Patrick has shown us at Kobe that he can still win a race.
Yeah, totally. I know you can't count out Patrick and Philemon, of course, with how dominant they have been. And it seems that their efforts were measured this past weekend, not like going too much to the well, potentially just based off the video footage. But then again, Patrick has really fluid form, and maybe that's just how he looks, even when he's tired. But as far as my picks, any other folks to point out before I get into this?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Picks,
I,
prelude.
oh,
I'll go in the correct. No, I'm gonna go third to first again.
okay.
I'm gonna go Joey, Patrick El Hussein for the prelude. Go ahead.
My prelude is probably going to be third place Roberto, second place Patrick, first place El Hussein. Actually, I'm going to go second place Philemon, first place El Hussein.
Okay. And the longer race, I'm gonna go Philemon in third, Roberto in second, and El Hussein in first.
I'm going to go Remy third, Patrick in second, El Hussein in first.
That's probably the safer bet. Just trying to, heat things up in here, cause some controversy. No, I know. I was staring at Remy's name for both of these. I could see him. It's like he could win, and that wouldn't be surprising either. Like, I would suspect that he's looked at both of these courses as well. And Remy absolutely dominated Madeira, which literally was wet steps for 5 days or 4 days of the 5. I just don't know how he's feeling post America. Oh, this is tough.
Yeah.
Well, as you
I
guys can
think he'd have
see,
to have.
we know exactly what we're talking about.
I think we got a pretty good idea. Watch, one of us is going to be exactly right again.
I know.
No, I think that Remy could have a winning day, but it's way less likely than in previous years. I think that Patrick and El Hussein are just like so dominant right now, and even Philemon has shown up and gotten second in a couple of races. Like, I just don't know that he can come out on top with these guys right now.
Yeah. Maybe he recovered really well though.
Yeah.
Because Patrick and Pilmon just raced. I do want to point out this is non-related to trying to pick the podium, but I've been loving Bart's videos. Do you follow Bart on Instagram? He is a dad,
No.
and he's
Oh.
a great follow. He's been posting these videos that are so cute. He's saying, watching the baby today, like wife is out or etc. And it's him with his baby and his dog, and his dog is like a herding dog. And so he's like playing with the baby, doing his like activation exercises, and this dog is just circling them. Just like trying to herd them. And then he had another one with the treadmill where he was hiking up the treadmill but holding the baby, and he's like, gotta get my workout in, but the baby needs to be held.
Yeah.
I just
gotta
love
put it in the
videos
pack,
like
use
that.
it as a weighted hike.
That's a good idea. So yeah, Bart is a great follow there. All right, well, that is the Golden Trail World Series final. Can you believe it? We are here. It feels like we were previewing Kobe and Four Sisters China just yesterday. As we've said, we've heard some rumors, but we will not talk about those rumors. But I would suspect that Golden Trail would be releasing their calendar within the month after this final. So if you're just very hungry to know what's going on next year, keep an eye on their social channels. If you haven't already, go to Free Trail Fantasy, select those picks. Maybe MK and one of us is going to be exactly right, hopefully. And
I'm gonna forget who I picked.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go do it in Free Trail, and it's gonna be like completely wrong.
Or just listen to our podcast. Just go to the end and listen to the podcast. And I don't know if we have another episode coming out before MK's New York marathon. Maybe, probably a recap.
We're flying by the seat of our pants these days.
Yeah, we're just doing it when we feel like it. But trying to still give you some information when possible. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the SubHub headlines. You can do that by clicking the link in our bio. And also, if you've been enjoying the podcast, as much as we do, please consider dropping us a rating. It's extremely helpful for us, whether it's on Apple or Spotify. And we love hearing your feedback. So feel free to send us a DM on Instagram if you ever have any questions or ideas. Oh, shoot. I forgot to answer that question on Instagram. We'll have to do that in a different episode.
Oh yeah,
But
that can
we
be
did
like
get,
an end of the year thing. I feel like when we're talking about like goods and bads of series and such.
yeah, maybe like the year in review and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Allison, thanks for messaging us on Instagram. We will get to your question and I will just message you on Instagram because I thought I was going to answer in this podcast and I didn't. But yeah, UTMB index to be discussed in a later episode.
Yes. This has been the Free Trail. I keep doing that. This has been the Sub
Yeah,
Hub
get it right,
podcast
MK.
brought to you by Free Trail. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.